But I guess the first question that I think everyone is going to have is how did this come about? Lisa Alexander joining the London Pulse and heading overseas. So, where did this all start? And how have we ended up with a contract signed?
Yeah, so as you know, Josh, we're very keen in London Pulse to be creating an environment where we can genuinely create world-class athletes. And the Super League needs to improve in terms of the quality of the athletes within it. And we believe that needs to come from the coaching staff and all the support staff that provide that training environment. So for us, we were looking for a performance director and coach that could really raise the bar for us in London. And of course, Lisa is a perfect candidate for that for us. To be honest, when I first reached out to her, I thought she would just think, like most of my people I work with, that I was a crazy lady and I should go away. But in fact, we started to have some really positive conversations, and it turns out that our ideologies are similar, and Lisa obviously has a teaching background as well as an elite coaching background, and I think that's just perfect for us with our very talented athletes in London and our young roster. And it just seemed, the more we spoke, to just be a perfect fit for Lisa to come and work with us.
For me, I'd been following Sam for a while on Twitter. As you know, Josh, I'm a bit of a Twitter fan, and I like my netball Twitter family, and particularly the last 18 months, they've been closer to me than ever, because I'd been watching Sam for a while, and I was interested when she went to London Pulse because I'd seen Sam's work already in practice matches when the Diamonds go to London, or we've been to other places, and Sam has coached England Futures or their 21s. I've been really impressed with the way that they go about their business, and I've spoken to Tracy Neville about Sam's ability. And so I have been a secret admirer from afar. And when I got a couple of questions earlier this year about some players in Australia, I always reach out to my coaching colleagues. If they're in another country and they ask me a question, I always try and help them as much as possible and give my best honest, assessment. And, that's what I did. And then when this came, I was, thinking about, and we were talking through another position in in England. And at the end of the day, I just got more and more interested in the London Pulse offer, and particularly the fact that it's performance director. Josh, is really important to me. It's a step to the side or up or whichever way. It's very different to me being a head coach, and it's going to challenge me and help me to grow as a person and a professional. And I'm really excited. I just can't wait to get alongside, Sam and Fee on the court and doing our work. And the 21s is just like icing on the cake.
Lisa, you've spoken at length. We all know your feelings around development and pathways, and how we can all raise the profile of netball. In terms of that performance direction and also being the head coach of under 21s, what are you hoping to impart on some who are probably going to be very, very keen English netballers? I can probably guarantee you that. What do you hope to impart on that part of the world, especially in such a city like London?
Well, it's exciting to be in London, number one, because, I've always thought it's the heartbeat of the world, really. And, it's going to be one of the biggest clubs in netball in the world, actually, for me. And to be involved as the performance director is an enormous, I'm so grateful for the opportunity, but excited about what I can bring, my expertise that I've had over, 30 years of coaching in the high performance pathway, right from, I can coach under 10s all the way through to masters, I guess. And I probably coached the Masters back in 2002 when we won a gold medal, but I think Joyce did. But any case, I'm rambling. What I'm saying is I love the underage part of the pathway I always have. That's why I went to junior nationals, particularly in 2019 as the Australian Diamonds coach, because I wanted them to know how important they were to me. I'm so glad I got to watch Sophie Dwyer play for New South Wales at that championship and knew how good she was. And so to be a part of that and to really embrace it, to be also the leader of our coaches in Australia, particularly at the junior national camps and, you know, even our high performance Indigenous camp, that's what really I loved about the job. So this is what is going to be so important in London and at London Pulse, working alongside Sam and Fee and the other coaches. Hopefully I'll learn some things too, Josh, because I don't know everything, but I know quite a bit, and I can, I think, really make a difference to the club, and particularly just to help the players to see what they need to be the best in the world. Because, you know, Australian at the end of the day is still number one in netball. And, you know, part of that is our process that we go through. However, a lot of it is to do with relationships and how we operate together as a coaching team. And I'm really interested in exploring that as well. So it's exciting. I can't wait for the opportunity.
We talk about the London Pulse, and Sam, this might be one for you. Obviously, there's so many England futures. You guys, you know, had a slow start to last season, but you really came into the fold towards the end of the season, and people were starting to really talk about the London Pulse. And now I guess if you had the depth of someone like Lisa Alexander, the club's going places. So in terms of the development of not just your club, but English netball, do you think this is the step that's been needing to happen for a little while?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of talk about the Super League needing to improve in terms of its performance levels. And whilst we can't change that on our own, but what we can do is work within our own sphere of influence, which is to provide the very best platform we can provide in London. And I think that Sirens are also doing that in Scotland, and I think Manchester Thunder are doing that as well. So I think it needs more clubs to take this step to really look at themselves and look at how they can put in that platform for long-term sustained development, because bringing in the odd import player is not the answer. It needs to be deeper than that. And certainly I'm grateful to our owners and our investors that are enabling us to bringing top class coaches and Lisa as a PD. And it's essential that our league improves, because you know, the Suncorp is the best league in the world. The ANZ has been very impressive this year. And we need to be providing a much stronger league in the Northern Hemisphere. And that comes from the structure and the staffing that we're putting in place at London Pulse.
This is obviously a clear goal of yours, since, you know, if someone doesn't know that Sam Bird is basically the London Pulse, she's the CEO, she's the coach, she's probably so much more than we know backstage, behind the scenes. Like, you obviously traveled around with the club in some trying times over the past 18 months, as it's been for every league across the world. So you obviously have a clear vision for the future. So in terms of your goal, it's obviously world-class, but what does that actually mean to you? If you drill down into the development you're installing into the club and to English netball, what would it mean for you? And, you know, by maybe 2032, when half your squad's at the Olympics, what would that mean for you?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the Olympics, because let's hope netball is in it, and we're relying on not only you as Australians to push that, but the global netball family to push for netball to be in the Olympics. But absolutely, what we want to be doing is raising the standard of the game, raising the standard of competitiveness. But also, for me, as you know, Josh, it's very important that we have our elite level performing to the best, but it's the engagement from the the Londoners in our sport. So whatever language you speak, whatever religion you are, whether you're a boy or a girl or whatever, we want you at the copper box watching London Pulse. We want you supporting England or whichever country you support. And we want netball to be on a much bigger footing, and to people to be as crazy as we are about netball. We want more and more fans to do that, because it has so many other positive benefits for, you know, health and well-being. And the more people you can get involved as volunteers and umpires and coaches, then the better the game will become. And our game needs to improve here in terms of our league, but that will then push the game globally. And it means the game just keeps evolving and becoming more exciting and provides more opportunities for women to have netball as a career. So it's quite a big ambition. And as you know, I like to dream big, but if I don't, who isn't? So, you know, I need to take the opportunity we have of being in London at the Copper Box with all the fantastic facilities we have, and just pushing this game as far as we can within the UK.
Yeah, and I think in terms of the Olympics, just for another general bit of knowledge for netball fans, London Pulse have male training partners and have done for a long time, like through the Knights connection. So we want to see that continue, and it's a holistic club over there. And I think that community connection, Lisa, is that something that's drawn you over as well? Because London Pulse is very connected in terms of community development.
Oh, absolutely. I've always been a big singer from the song sheet about, you know, you reap what you sow, and the grassroots is so important. And part of what I did with the Diamonds at the start was make sure I connected them to the grassroots community players, because I thought that was missing. That was a missing piece, and it was extremely important. I'll never forget the Wallabies separating themselves from the grassroots here in Australia. So I made sure that we were very grounded in our grassroots and our community and communities. So wherever we had test matches, it was get out there and run clinics with, you know, the young players of that city or town. You know, I wish we'd had more time in Townsville when we were there. If you remember back, Josh, it was a fabulous test match against the Silver Ferns, and it was a shame we couldn't run more things there, but that's what makes the difference to people and young people when they connect with their elite players at the top. And, you know, I'm definitely excited about that opportunity in London because it's so diverse. It's, you know, culturally inclusive. We've got 30 languages, I think Sam said, and probably 30 religions as well. And so I've got lots to learn, and I'm excited by that. I'm a travel girl by heart. I love traveling. I've traveled extensively to India many times and to Africa. I want to get to know more, and this is a great opportunity to do that.
Amazing. And both of you, I guess, is something that people want to know. What are the short-term goals for London Pulse in 2022? Obviously, Lisa, you've got to get over there and you know, get settled first, but what is next year's goal?
Well, I think unusually for me, the boring answer is actually a lot of hard work behind the scenes. You can't just magic out a winning team. I've tried praying and it doesn't work on its own. You have to actually put the hard graft in, and I think that the truth is getting those good processes in place, setting the standard that Lisa obviously will, really infusing our squad to understand about taking the most of this opportunity, and being more confident in their own ability as well. I think although our players are very talented, they need to believe in themselves a little bit more. And I think knowing that they're putting the hard graft and training smart as well will help just start to cement some really strong performances. So I think for us, it's connecting one good performance on the back of another, which we found very difficult to do last year. And I think that's what we'll be really focusing on, really laying the foundations to produce a team that can perform at a high level week in, week
Yeah, I mean, I'm a numbers person, as Sam knows. Sam is a writer. I'm a numbers person, so I know that London Pulse finished 8th, and I would definitely be encouraged if we can move our way up the ladder, but that is dependent on a lot of things, and you've also got to be cognizant of the opposition you're up against as well. So I think across the board, we want to be seeing some improvements, and I'll be driving some testing and things like that, in particular in the physical conditioning area. But as Sam alluded to, I think a lot of this is to do with also the performance psychology space and the dynamics of the team and how I implement some of those, I think, really great practices that we had in the Diamonds that, easily can be transferable across. And it's also about expectations and managing expectations with athletes and the communication that we have. And the consistency of performance will come from, as Sam said, not praying, but praying could help. It's all very positive. But alongside praying will be hard work and getting the work done to know and feel confident, the players to feel confident when they get out there on the court, that they've done the hard work, they know they're prepared, and they can put that great performance out on the court week in, week out.
Amazing. And I sort of just have to know, did this all start somehow along the way through a Twitter DM? I feel like that's where you guys sort of alluded to. Is that how it started?
Yes, definitely. Twitter DMs are the way to go. That's how you actually communicate with people who are busy, I think. It's actually the way that I actually can. Sometimes if I need Sam quickly, I will Twitter direct message her, and I know I'll get an answer the quickest way.
I love that. So Lisa's part of your role taking over the social media management as well next year, or?
Definitely not, Josh. I'm not an expert at it. I'm a good participant in Twitter, and I try to be, as you know, very positive and supportive of mostly everyone. I'll have to start getting that out of my system when I'm representing London Pulse. I think I need to be show a bit more decorum and respect. I would definitely be doing that with the umpires, of course. Gary Burgess and I are quite close on Twitter. We support each other out there, and I think he'll be very excited when he hears I'm coming over.